there, my name is Hayden Lee, and I'm a Master Certified Executive Life and Leadership Coach. I am the founder and head coach of Hayden Lee Coaching International. I am based in Los Angeles, yet I work with clients worldwide. And I am a proud graduate of Coach Training EDU from 2011. What is my story? That is such a big question. The first thing that comes to mind was as a student, I was always a driven student. I've always been ambitious. I've always been competitive, which is indicative of my Enneagram type. If anyone's familiar with Enneagram, I'm a 3, which is a competitive achiever. So I always remember myself being driven, a natural leader. I think even as early as elementary school, I would always naturally take a leadership role, like student body president. It was me, editor-in-chief of yearbook in high school. And really, I enjoy that type because I think I like influence. I like being able to be a positive influence on people, a positive impact on people. And then in college, I was actually starting college as pre-med, wanting to be a doctor because I always had a love for helping people. But I think it was second year in college where I didn't really want to be a doctor. So I, kind of shifted out of the pre-med track because I wanted to do something just, more fun. So I wanted to, and I've also have a background in acting too. I've always been a public speaker and I always debate, and I have professional acting background. So then I actually totally did a 180 from medicine, and I wanted to focus on acting. And then so after college, I actually moved to Los Angeles, and I've been actually a professional actor for many years as well. And that's been awesome too. I love telling stories. I love using acting and film and art to be able to tell stories and inspire people that their story matters too, to empower people that their voice is important. Like I said before, I want to tell young people your voice matters, make sure it gets heard. And I think using visual means to do that, acting or public speaking is a great way to do that. So that's always been a part of me too. And I'm realizing how much creativity and fun and art and acting, even comes into the coaching world, and it's interesting too how I coach people in the entertainment industry now, which is really interesting how when I first got into coaching it, you would never make that connection, that you would think that has anything to do with the entertainment industry, but it totally has come around full circle where I coach people and I do leadership coaching now for, people in the entertainment industry, which I find fascinating. But that's a really hard, I'm just sharing some kind of insights on what I think my story is. What is the next chapter? If we're going to talk about story and a metaphor, like I said, my next chapter is, world domination, I guess, and using coaching, right, to make, I say that tongue in cheek, but when I mean world domination, I mean to be a world influence for good and positivity and empowerment and human potential. But yeah, I think that's just the main parts of my story. I think. Yeah. I used to work as an SAT tutor many years ago, and I was working with a lot of youth, and I was helping young people with preparing for the SAT, preparing for college, and they were also stressed out, and they were really literally getting sick, when applying for colleges, and stressed out about getting good grades and test scores. And then I was getting more curious and asking them deeper questions as to why were they doing this and what did they actually want to do and who did they want to become. And they had no idea. They actually had no sense of self. yet they were just literally getting sick and so stressed out from school. And that really bothered me because, I believe that when people have like purpose in what they're doing, or they find meaning in their work, or when they're happy here, people, they do better work. And this wasn't the case with all these young people. And this was back in 2010, and then that's when I came across academic life coaching. So this was before Coach Training EDU became Coach Training EDU. It was academic life coaching. And I saw an article about John Andrew Williams, co-founder of Coach Training EDU, about how he had a similar experience, that he was a former high school teacher, and when he was trying to have deeper conversations with the students, they had no idea who they wanted to be, or what they wanted. And it's not they had no idea, it's more that they didn't have the opportunity to reflect on these questions. So I thought that was fascinating, that academic life coaching was an opportunity to work with young people, but on a deeper level, is really to get them to really tap into their own potential and increase their own awareness of who they are and who they wanted to be. And I thought it was awesome. So I called John, and I remember I had a conversation with John on the phone, and then I enrolled in the academic life coaching course because I wanted the tools and skill set to empower young people to find purpose and meaning in their education and their schooling, to love learning, to love the possibilities of what's possible in their life. So that's what first drew me to coaching. Was I didn't want to just teach young people how to do well on tests. I wanted them to take ownership of their life, and just empower themselves to create the life and this future that they wanted. And I guess in a nutshell, what inspired me to be a coach is that I wanted young people to see their potential and to have the courage to take action to make their dreams come true. It sounds trite, but it's what I believe in, that when people have the confidence and resources and someone to believe in them, then they can further believe in themselves and pursue whatever they want. My coaching business now, Hayden Lee Coaching International, is so different than where it was when I first started coaching 9 years ago. So like I said, my coaching business started as Hayden Lee Academic Life Coach, and it was targeted to working with teenagers, like I said, to help them find purpose and passion and fulfillment in school. And at that time, I did a lot of workshops. I live in Los Angeles, and I live on the west side of Los Angeles near Santa Monica. So I was able to do a lot of workshops at local libraries and at PTA meetings on certain topics that I learned in academic life coaching. So first, and I was doing really well at that. I, had parents and teachers and counselors reach out to me to, have me work with students. But what happened from there, though, was the parents of the students were seeing such great transformations in their kids, seeing the kids really step up in their education, seeing the kids step up in their own lives. And the parents were a little bit like bewildered because I wasn't a tutor. They were like, "Oh, my kids, like grades are getting better, and they're taking more ownership in school. They're actually communicating with teachers. They're asking questions in class. They're actually writing things down. They, are taking initiative to make their own appointments. Like, what is happening to my kid?" The parents were like astounded. And once again, I wasn't a tutor because, tutoring is about, subject mastery. And for the majority of students, it's not that they don't understand the material. It's really finding the motivation and confidence to follow through with their work is really what the issue is, which is the heart of what academic life coaching is. We're not tutors. We don't teach them how to do the math, but it's really about empowering them with the mindset to follow through and doing math on their own. So the parents were noticing such great transformations in their kids. And the parents started asking me if I work with adults. And they're asking me like, wow, I wonder if Hayden could, teach, managers in my company, to take this type of initiative to be leaders. Or some of the parents were like, wow, I wonder if Hayden could even work with me, and most of these parents were working professionals, and pretty successful at what they wanted to do, but for whatever reason wanted to get to the next level, or they wanted to start their own business, or they wanted maybe more work-life balance. And they wanted what their kids had. They wanted to see that type of transformation in themselves. So they started asking me to work with adults. So at the time, I didn't, but I said yes. I said, of course I work with adults, because I believe it's important to say yes to opportunity, right? Because when you say yes to opportunity, you don't know what could happen. When you say no to opportunity, you know exactly what can happen, which is nothing. So I'm always a firm believer of saying yes if it's something that excites you, and then you figure it out as you go along. And that's exactly what happened. So I was starting to work with adults as I was working with adults as I was further training myself in other types of executive coaching tools. So I got certified in some other assessments. I got trained in the Enneagram professionally, and then John Andrew Williams had written a book called Essential Life Coach Training, which is really taking the basic foundational skill sets of coaching, and then he and I kind of reworked that together to create the executive life coaching program, which is now offered at Coach Training EDU. And that program I co-created through experience, really. I was able to add a lot to that curriculum based on my current work, with working professionals, entrepreneurs, and executives. So now what my business looks like is I personally primarily work with, high achieving, highly motivated executives and business owners, entrepreneurs wanting to take their business to the next level. It's mostly people who have a proven track record of success, but they want to take things to the next level. It's people that have had success. They want to be more successful. So that's exciting that I primarily work with those people. However, I still have a passion for working with youth, and I still have a passion for, empowering teenagers. So because I've had the fortunate experience to have been a trainer at Coach Training U for many years, I know hundreds of coaches now, and some of them have asked for my mentorship or asked to maybe work for me. So I do have a few coaches that they focus on teenagers under my mentorship and guidance. So when I do get inquiries for academic life coaching, which I still get from all over the world, I'm able to talk to the parents, really see what the parents are looking for. And the academic life coaching program is amazing. And as long as, there's a skilled and trained coach who, goes through the program with the student, I think it could be a slam dunk. So now with the academic life coaching department of my business, I pair the coaches that work for me with those students while I personally work with the adults. So that's the current state of my business. And I'm also a facilitator for other coaching schools like the Enneagram, there's an international Enneagram school that I teach at called Integrative Enneagram Solutions. So that's really fun. I train coaches on how to coach. And then I'm also part of a nonprofit called LEAP, which stands for Leadership Education for Asian Pacifics. So I'm on their coaching faculty as well, which is a nonprofit that focuses on developing leadership of Asian Pacific Americans in the corporate world, because there is a drastic misrepresentation of people of color in the corporate world, especially in executive positions. So I'm using coaching to give back to the community, to be able to empower the next generation of Asian Pacific American leaders, to empower them to take their seat at the table in the corporate boardroom, because their voices need to be heard too. As corporate America kind of shapes so much of what we see and hear and eat and think and drink. I want to make sure that there's equal voices at that table. The vision for my business is that I want to continue to grow an international brand. of coaching to be able to be seen as an international like impact for good. Really, when people think of leadership, when people think of executive coaching, leadership coaching, academic life coaching, is I want them to think of me to be able to, like, I want my legacy to be someone who unlocks people's potential, right? And I want to have my organization symbolize that and represent that. And the vision for my business is not only to empower people to grow in their coaching skill set and to use, coaching to change their life, but I'm also right now working with two neuroscientists to develop a coaching program that is explains the science of coaching and to have people understand, there's actually things happening in your brain when you have a growth mindset or when you're more open-minded and when you take risks. And when you actually put effort into regulating your emotions, when you put effort into having empathy for people, it actually strengthens neurons and creates new neurons in your brain. And I'm learning all this wonderful stuff. So I actually just co-founded a partnership with two neuroscientists called the Mastermind Institute, which is all about the marriage of professional coaching and neuroscience. So I see the vision of my business, continuing to empower and coach people like I already have been, but to even have more science behind it as well. To really, I want my company to continue to raise the standards of professional coaching, to continue to inspire people to go into the field of coaching, because ultimately coaching helps individuals become their best self, and that is my way to change the world, is to make sure everyone knows about the art and science of coaching. I think, I want to be honest in answering this question. Because having trained hundreds of coaches at this point and knowing hundreds of coaches, I think it's the business part is hard, right? So I think people go into it. You have to be really, really clear, like why you want to go into it, and you have to really be ready to grow a lot yourself personally. And what I mean by that is the best advice I can give is to really be in it for the long haul. Like if you really, really love it, it's definitely a journey, and not to go into it for a quick money, or because you're not going to make it. It's definitely an investment of time, energy, and resources, and blood, sweat, and tears. But the simple advice is just not to give up. Like, if you want to change the world, want to make a impact on people, it takes time, and it takes patience, and it takes grit, and it takes resilience. I think, I've trained so many coaches, and they go into it and they love coaching, love helping people, but then the business side might get a little bit hard, and then they stop trying. And that just breaks my heart, because like I said, I'm on a mission to change the world through coaching, and I need to assemble like an army of coaches, of do-gooders. And it's disheartening, but at the same time encouraging, that I think, yes, it's hard, but that also means that the people that stick in it, stick with it for, years, those are the ones that they're just going to get more and more successful at it. And I want people to know too that the growth in terms of business and revenue is exponential, meaning like the first few years are going to be really hard, but once you get the ball rolling, like then all of a sudden you will triple your income, then quadruple, because it's really, really slow at first, but you got to ramp up, but then it really takes off. And I think if people just hold on long enough to that point when it can really take off, it's a really amazing and fulfilling career. So that's really the best advice is, there's so many coaches. Well, I'll take that back. There are a lot of coaches out there, but there's maybe not that many that are successful in terms of being able to do it full time and to be able to, have a livelihood of paying all the bills and raising a family on a coach's salary. It's possible, and it's totally doable. And I'm very proud of myself, and that I'm able to make a full-time living and make good money at what I do in my coaching business. But it wasn't easy. It's taken me years to get here. But what I was going to say was, with all the successful coaches, meaning like doing it full time and being able to, have savings and pay all their bills through coaching, they're all different in terms of their stories are different. Their paths to success are totally different. But the only factor they all have in common is that they didn't give up. And that's really the only factor that any successful business owner has, is that they didn't give up. There's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be times that you want to quit. So be in it for the long haul. Know that it's going to be hard, but have a reminder of why it's worth it. And also find a mentor too. I think it's so important to learn from those that have been there before, right? Because and that's in any field, anyone that's super successful in a field that you want to do, I encourage people to like reach out to them and see how they did, or learn from them, and listen to their vulnerability stories too. Like not just hearing the happy success stories of successful entrepreneurs and coaches, but also the hard times they had too. I remember actually John, when I was, he was in my early stages of my career. Definitely John was a great mentor of mine, because he'd been coaching, longer than I had. And he is the one who started his own coaching company before I had. But I remember something very impactful that he said many years ago to me was, similar advice of what I'm saying to others, is to learn from those that have been there before and know that they've had it really hard too. And I remember John was saying the first couple of years of academic life coaching, he and his family, they were month to month, they were living month to month, but their dream of creating this business was more important than their fear of living month to month. And they made it through. And same for me. Like, I want people to know that when I first started, I had people like laughed at me. They're like, what is this life coach thing? And people like didn't take it seriously. And people literally had friends laugh in my face, and they would say, who would want to listen to you? And so you do have to build a tough skin, and you do have to build resiliency, and you do have to find a reason not to give up, because it's going to get hard, but know that it's going to be worth it. Right. And you have to believe in yourself, even at times when you feel like no one else believes in what you're doing and they think you're crazy. But I think there's that I think it's Steve Jobs' quote, but about the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones that usually do. And I think that's great. Like, if people think it's a crazy idea, then you're probably onto something. In fact, the less people who understand what you're doing, sometimes that's better, because it means you're onto innovation and you're onto something great. And something else too about vulnerability that it just reminds me of too is, any time in your life that you were on the cusp of doing something great, there was a little bit of apprehension there, right? There's a little bit of nervousness, whether it's walking across the stage, at your college graduation, or walking down the aisle when you get married. Like, those are really important milestones in your life, but there is still sometimes, but there's actually mostly times butterflies in your stomach, right? Or before I'm about to, speak in front of hundreds of people. Oh, which I have, very fortunately, I'm able to speak all over the world now, which is so exciting, but I'm always a little bit nervous right before I get on stage. So that apprehension is your body telling you, wow, this is something great that's going to happen. You're about to do something amazing. So listen to that voice sometimes of when your coaching business doesn't seem to be doing well, you want to give up, and you have that like nervous, ness in your stomach. But listen to what that voice is, because that apprehension that you feel, it's probably because you're on the cusp of something great that can happen. So you really have to listen and interpret for yourself if the nerves you feel, if it's an opportunity to reframe. Is it that I'm nervous and stressed, or is it that I'm excited because something great's about to happen? So I think that's a really great piece of advice that I want to give people too, that when you have resistance and anxiety about something, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's actually probably a message that something great is about to come. The most important thing I would tell young people is to know that your voice matters. and to speak your voice, and don't be afraid to live out loud and share with the universe what you believe in, and share with the universe your ideas, because the reality is that most young people today, the jobs and careers that they're going to have probably haven't even been invented yet. So so I want young people to know that your ideas matter, your voice matters, and you deserve a place at the table just like everyone else. So when I want to encourage young people, if they have resistance about sharing, or they're nervous about sharing, to actually remember that, courage is not the absence of fear, right? Courage is having fear and doing it anyways. So I want young people, I actually teach a leadership course, for younger professionals in Santa Monica. And I always tell people, you have to ask for what you want, and you have to speak up and let your voice be heard, because you're not going to be able to get what you want if no one knows what you want. And, but I guess the first step, even before asking for what you want, is, I want young people to take time to reflect on what you want and get clear on what it is you want and the type of life you want to have, and not to judge yourself for it, to actually own it and embrace it. And the sooner you really are confident in the type of life you want to have, and the type of person you want to be, the better off you'll be. Because I think, I think if we can learn anything from previous generations, is just doing something and working just because it's the right thing to do or the safe thing to do does not lead to like happiness or fulfillment. In fact, it leads to burnout, and stress, and lots of unhealthy behavior down the line. So I think the younger people are confident in saying what they want and going after it, the better off they'll be. So I think the first step, like I said, getting clear on what you want, not judging it, embracing it and owning it, and then starting to go after it and tell people what you want and ask for what you want and let your voice be heard. Such a great question. So, of course, there's the textbook definition, right? There's the ICF International Coach Federation definition, right? Which is partnering with clients in a thought-provoking manner, that helps them maximize their personal and professional potential. So there's that definition. Then, of course, there's the Coach Training EDU definition, which I helped define, right? Which is, coaching is meant to help people increase self-awareness, generate learning, and identify and achieve meaningful goals, right? So of course there's that textbook definition of coaching, but really what coaching means to me is really helping people see what they're capable of, and helping them see what's possible, and turning the impossible into reality. And for coaches, I think the magic that coaches have is that we often see the power and potential in our clients before our clients see it in themselves. So it is our role to really help them see it and to help them own it. That's how I define coaching. Since I've discovered professional coaching 9 years ago, it's totally changed my life, because I've made a career out of it, a business out of it. I've helped, hundreds of clients and spoken to thousands of people, under coaching. But it's really impacted me because it's gotten me to slow down and really get clear on who I want to be and the type of people I want to impact. So it's definitely helped me have more empathy and compassion. It's helped me be able to communicate better with friends and family and then loved ones. And it's really helped me slow down to be able to meet people where they're at rather than where I want them to be, right? Because I'm a doer. I move fast, I think fast, and I take action quickly. And there's a lot of strengths to that. But there's also a lot of weaknesses to that coaching has helped me be aware of. That, you know, bigger and faster isn't always the best way. That you have to appreciate all viewpoints, and And I think also coaching's impacted me because when you coach others and want others to be vulnerable, you also have to learn to be vulnerable yourself. So it's been a huge shift in me the last several years to be able to talk about my weaknesses, to actually admit when I'm wrong, when I make mistakes, and to know that I actually don't know all the answers, and that I have so much to learn and so much to grow. And I think that vulnerability and of me slowing down and sharing more with people, like things that I'm nervous about or things that I'm not good at, has only deepened my relationships with people. So it's, yeah, it's definitely just helped me become much more of a present person, mindful person. Um, and it's just awesome because when I have, and so I feel so fortunate that I get to coach every day. And I feel like every day that I coach a client, you know, I learn so much from them. You know, we say a coach is a mirror, right? A coach reflects to our clients things that they may not see. But clients are also mirrors for us. So it's also, I'm learning I'm being more aware of how I feel when a client says something. I'm more aware of trying to be in my client's shoes. So it's really great how coaching is a partnership, it's a co creation. And like I said, I've had this fortunate experience to be able to work with so many different people. So to co-create so many, probably at this point I've co-created, thousands of different ideas and projects with different people throughout the years. And it's just the most rewarding, fulfilling experience. So I think coaching has helped me stay grounded, really more calm and peaceful and patient. But at the same time, it gives me so much energy. It keeps me passionate and excited, and the possibilities really are limitless of what we can do with coaching, the different things that we can do with it. So it's definitely also coaching's given me clarity on what my legacy on this planet is going to be, and it's very exciting. So, what did I learn the most about myself as a participant at Coach Training EDU? And at the time, it was called Academic Life Coaching. I think I learned to embrace that I have this a natural gift of inspiring, and just this energy that flows out of me that I'm able to direct for good, right? Because I've always been a very energetic person, and I've always been really outgoing and funny and all that stuff. And I think that's one of my greatest strengths. But as a life coaching student, I was able to channel that in with some structure and to be able to use that to change someone's life in like a structured way. And I think that was such a great experience that like all of my natural gifts and talents and my ability to like inspire people, I had now had a means to do that, a medium to do that, and a structure to do that. And that feels really good rather than just, being this like big ball of energy, being able to use it in some way has been really great. Um, and then as a trainer at Coach Training EDU, what did I learn myself as a trainer? I mean, I learned I was very good at it. I learned that I was able to make it fun and engaging. I learned that I challenge people. I learned that I'm definitely a no BS type of trainer because I want people to succeed. I guess maybe that's what I learned the most. It's like I want in my I learned it's in my like heart. I want people to succeed. And when people go into this wonderful profession and at times challenging profession, I have this burning desire to help the coaches that I train. Like, I want them to soar, I want them to fly high. And then, but then I'd also, because of my strong passion that I want all of my coaching students to have wildly successful careers and wildly successful businesses, um, I found sometimes that I would get frustrated I would get frustrated too. And I would get frustrated, not with them, more with myself, that I was getting frustrated with myself, that I was getting frustrated, that like, they weren't um, maybe taking enough action as I wanted them to, or weren't being as proactive. But then it goes back to what coaching has taught me, is that I have to meet people with where they're at and not where I want them to be. And I have to let people create their own path and create their own journey, because everyone's path is different. So I think as a trainer, I was constantly reminded of that, having trained hundreds of coaches by now, all of their paths are different and they have to do what's best for them at that time. Um, so I had to let go of, my dreams for them. And really I realized my role was not that they had to fulfill the dreams that I had for them, but I wanted them to be clear and confident in defining what their own dreams were. And maybe that was different than the dreams I had for them. But because I personally have experienced, a lot of, success in becoming a professional coach, and I know a lot of them wanted that too, I know what's possible for them, right? I know it's possible. I know, like, get my coaching students to really be really successful.
I'm so sorry.
Oh,
It cut out. So I want to make sure we get what you're saying right here. So the I know it's possible part, that part was cutting out. So if you can start there again, that'd be awesome. I'm so
yeah.
sorry.
Oh, no, no problem. What did I say right before the it's possible part? Oh yeah, because okay. So because I have had success in my coaching business and built a successful coaching practice, I know what's possible. I know it's possible, and I know what's possible, and I can see what's on the other side of the struggle. So oftentimes my want for my students in coach training, I wanted them to feel that feeling, to be able to have a successful coaching business. And but I think so I just sometimes was waver from that frustration, because I wanted them not to give up. But then I had to calm myself down and remind myself, everyone's path is different, and I want them to find their own path. And it doesn't matter what their timeline is. You know, at the end of the day, I just don't want them to give up, right? It doesn't matter how long it takes for them to get there. I just want them to get there. And it could take 5 years, could take 10 years, but whatever their destination is, as long as they don't give up on the journey, I think that's what really helped. What I learned as a trainer is that so everyone's path is different. But as long as, if anything, if I was able to convey my message to them, not to give up on this dream, then it really helped me stay a lot more grounded during the training process as well. Well, there was a lot. The first and foremost was so much like support from John, just under his mentorship, and really learning from those that had been there before. So really learning from John, and he was able to really take the time to share with me different things he did. And some of the things he did resonated with me and some didn't, but it really was a lot of trial and error. But I think Coach Training EDU provided me with a community, because I was a student in 2011, and then I was starting my business maybe 3 months into training, right? Because remember, I'm a viewer, so I was like already starting my business like 3 months in. But I was so grateful for my cohort of other ALC students at that time. We bounced ideas off each other. We were making like marketing materials and showing it to each other. So I really want to emphasize the importance of community, of also entrepreneurial coaches. So I think Coach Training EDU really provides that. And luckily now Coach Training EDU has really great specific business resources, like Build Your Life's Work, which really helps people map out their business. But because I'm so old school, this didn't exist. I think, so I was a lot of, I leaned on the community a lot. I leaned on John a lot. And there was a handful of academic life coaches that had gone through the program before I did. I think I was maybe the second, third class. So there was a few had like and like Gina Halstead comes to mind. Gina Halstead was one of the original academic life coaches too, and Gina Halstead is amazing, but she also gave me a lot of guidance in terms of things she tried, things that worked, things that didn't work. And then she also helped, I think before Build Your Life's Work, Gina had something called like biz launchers, like ALC biz launchers. And that was through, you know, partnership with, Coach Training EDU. So I actually did take biz launchers class, and that was before it was Build Your Life's Work. But I think I was in Gina's first biz launchers class, first or second biz launchers too. So I had the fortunate experience to kind of really help things see things from the ground up, right? My coach training was all over the phone, actually. That's interesting. Zoom didn't even exist, I don't think, back then. So it was all audio. So we would call a conference line every week and like put in the PIN number, and then you would hear, 10 people's voices on the call, but you don't see their faces. So actually to this day, I don't even know what some of my fellow students look like. But I think it was exciting for me just to know that Coach Training EDU was all about thinking about the future, innovation, progress. So so to answer your question, like there wasn't like the specific courses. The biz launchers with Gina Halstead did help. Build Your Life's Work wasn't in existence yet, but even through the courses, I learned a lot. Like the biz launcher class, I learned like different strategies on how to market yourself and strategies on how to build a business, which was helpful. But I think hands down, it was the community of people at the school that really made a difference in the beginning of building my business. It was holding each other accountable, bouncing ideas off of each other, bouncing resources off of each other. That's really, really, really valuable. I've been fortunate to have had a lot of really, really good teachers. But I think one of the teachers that really stands out to me, it was my freshman year in high school. It was IB, English, and if you're not familiar, IB is International Baccalaureate program, and it's like an advanced program. It's like AP or honors, but International Baccalaureate, it's a specific program. But anyways, so I was in my freshman year though. Mr. Roberts was the IB English teacher freshman year in high school. And what I really liked about him is that he really challenged us and just like was no bullshit or no BS, sorry, and just like treated us like adults. And I think one of the really cool, and he was so creative on how he taught like Shakespeare, right? And I will never forget how much fun he taught us Othello. And he did Othello by turning into a mock trial. Othello was on trial, and then everyone in the class had specific roles, from like witnesses to attorneys to reporters, and it was so fun. And then we actually put him on trial, and then we performed the trial at a middle school. But the middle school actually the middle school students actually had a real jury. So they actually in real time decided, if they thought Othello was innocent or guilty based on our trial. And I was an attorney, in the role. I was his defense. I was part of the defense team of Othello. And we won. Actually, we we won. We got Othello acquitted. But what I love is that Mr. Robert, he was able to take something that may seemingly be boring or challenging and just made it so fun. And he engaged us, and he made us he challenged us to learn about ourselves while we learn about the material. And I think that's the best type of teacher, is not to just be a talking head and talk at you, but to get you to care about the work, and to get you to learn and challenge yourself, and to get you to grow as a person. And I think I guess I'm making a connection. That's a perfect segue into coaching, and why I love coaching. Is even I'm learning a lot about neuroscience, and obviously I have a lot of training and coaching skills and the coaching skill set. But that doesn't mean anything if I cannot use all of this information to help clients with their transformation. Right? I always say that it's not about information; it's about transformation. And I think that's part of what Mr. Roberts did. Is even so many years later, I can remember how I felt, like how proud I was being an attorney, for Othello's defense team. And when the junior high students read the verdict, and he was not guilty, like it was such an exhilarating experience. But what I learned about myself, though, in terms of being able to be persuasive and being able to work as a team, and cross-examining the witnesses, it was so awesome that we challenged ourselves. And we were pretty autonomous too, in the sense that he didn't give us much direction. There were guidelines, but he let us really take control of the project. And if I think, and we were like 15 or 14 and 15 at the time, and I think it was really great that he trusted us and really saw us as perfectly capable and able to do it, which actually goes back to coaching. Once again, is coaching, we believe in our clients that they already have everything inside of them to be successful, right? We believe our clients are whole, and we don't need to tell them what to do. We don't need to directly give them advice, because they already have the answers inside of them. And I think that's the best type of teacher, that the teachers that believe that every single student already has everything he or she needs, that it's just the role of the teacher to bring it out of them. And that's exactly what I do as a coach. So Mr. Roberts was an awesome teacher. And I guess in a way, he actually was a coach. That's what he was doing all along, was he was able to draw out in us what we've already had. He just was able to help us bring it to the forefront.